What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 4 of the Post Trauma Podcast. It is Pete, Justin, and Jeff here, and we are super stoked to be joined by Dave Jackel tonight. The podcast is about the sport of jiu-jitsu, our exposure to it, our friendship, and our journey. I just use the word journey. Sorry, guys, with mental health. So turn it over.
And just, like we say with every episode, we are not mental health professionals. If you're struggling, reach out to a friend, a parent, a cousin, your neighbor, anybody. Send somebody a text, an email, whatever. Like, don't suffer in silence. If you need to call 911, whatever you need to do, don't. What's the saying? I'd rather. I don't want to cry at your funeral, and I'd rather.
I can't remember.
None of us can talk today,
yeah.
dude.
No.
Well, don't suffer in silence. Reach out,
All right. So this is Dave Jackel next to me, as Pete said. Hey, Dave, just tell us a little bit about yourself and, and everything like that. That's it, yeah.
What an intro.
It is, isn't it? It's like a good intro.
Hey, man.
Meredith Griffin over here.
So, Dave Jackel, I grew up in West Mifflin, live in West Mifflin now, right outside Pittsburgh, and retired Navy, 20 years. I retired as an electronics technician, senior chief, and I got pulled in here by this guy next to me, Justin. Been friends for about 10 years now. We were firefighters together at the Homeville Fire Company, and he went on to bigger, better things, and I'm still there doing the Lord's work. So
look, you're still assistant chief, so
deputy.
Deputy, yeah.
But yeah, so it's I'm also involved with I'm the president of the Pittsburgh Warriors. It's a disabled veteran hockey program that we use hockey as our therapy tool for veterans, and it's our way to help veterans heal. It's just like you said, that there's multiple avenues out there when veterans are struggling, and we found out that the game of hockey is a very, very useful tool. Whether you have experience in hockey or not, it's just a very useful tool for giving veterans an outlet. It brings a brotherhood back. It puts you back into that barracks, into the locker room, into the berthing compartment, what we say in the Navy. So it's just puts you back into that mix with the guys and the girls in the program, and it gives you a safe space. And I know safe space. I say this every time I talk. I know safe space is a taboo term in our society now, but we really need that. And veterans especially need it, because when we get out, whether you do 5 months in the Navy or in the military, or you do 50 years in the military, which I know those numbers don't add up for anything, but if you do a short period of time or a long period of time in the military, it becomes a part of you.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out, when you don't have that part anymore, you have to figure out something to fill that space. Sometimes it's family, sometimes it's friends, sometimes it's alcohol, sometimes it's drugs, sometimes it's other illicit activities, but we're trying to make hockey that stalwart for people to help themselves out. So
it's amazing.
Yeah.
And JP, who we did episode 3, was part of your program.
Yeah, JP was actually the president of the organization right before I took over from him. I hope he watches this, because I'll tell him to his face. He knows I love him to death. He is one of my favorite people on his face of this earth. He is just such an inspirational person. On the hockey side of things, he started out, I'll never in my life forget it. He started out, never played hockey in his life.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I didn't get a chance to watch your episode with him, because every time he sends me the link, I lost it.
Yeah.
So
sounds
I don't know.
Maybe
I don't know
that's a good thing.
what he actually talked about, but I'll tell you.
He didn't get much in the hockey.
No, it was rough. The first,
Could he even skate?
No, not a step. It was awesome. It was really cool. And for somebody like me, I grew up playing. I started playing when I was about 8th grade or so.
Yeah.
So I played for 30 some years. I've been playing for a long time, and I can skate. I'm not ashamed to admit I'm not like a superstar by any means, but I'm good enough. But seeing guys, especially adults, come out and get on the ice for the first time and fail miserably, and then get back up. That's what it's all about. Yeah, that's what our program is all about. That was a great way for me to be able to talk about that. But JP, I will definitely get into that more. But JP is just our program was a very fledgling program when we first started, or when it was first started before I came around in 2018. And there's a couple guys that brought it over from what it was at another organization. they brought it over and they struggled because they didn't have a lot of support. They didn't have a good structure. They were trying to figure out how to do it, and they got burnt out. And it was just a point where, it was affecting home lives. It was just affecting life in general.
Yeah.
And, those guys got stressed out, and I love them to death. They're still very good friends of mine. But they just stepped back away from hockey. They couldn't put any more into it. So JP stepped up, just like the man that he is and the leader that he is. And he took our program from what it was a great start out program, and he formalized it. And we all know that you need military structure. If you've ever had that structure in the military, you need that to be a part of your life. And that's what he did. He gave us that structure, and then he passed it over to me, and then, I've kind of run with it a little bit. So, I like it. I love the fact you brought him up because, like I said, he's one of my favorite people in this world. I love that guy to death, and I would go to the ends of the earth for him, and I would do anything for that man. And so, but yeah, that's how I got involved with it. And once a short connection was made with Justin, it kind of went downhill from there. So
I know, right? Exactly.
I agree.
Once I found out that JP and Justin were doing jiu-jitsu together, I was like, oh my God.
We're still trying to get Dave to do it, but
that's not going to happen. Come on.
So
but yeah, I will tell you, I've warned JP from day one, do not get in a conversation with that guy because you will never end.
So me and JP have a thing. It's called the Jackel pot. So whoever wins it by getting you to do jiu-jitsu wins the Jackel pot.
Okay. Well, one of you is going to be really not rich because it's not going to happen.
So for us more experienced gentlemen, it's I'm creeping up on 50. So
Can you talk to us a little bit about, because we've talked about a lot before. We've talked about it with JP, and I know I've talked about my experiences finding my tribe with the jiu-jitsu guys, but I'd love to hear about you mentioned it in the outset, replicating that barracks type environment. Talk to us a little bit about how that is with your
so
hockey.
When we talked on the phone a couple months ago, whatever, we had a very long conversation about this, and I honestly forgot about that. I wanted to talk about this tonight, so I'm glad you brought it up. So everybody that does sports knows that the locker room is special, no matter what it is. Football, baseball, what you guys do with jiu-jitsu. Every group environment around sports is special. Anybody who's ever been involved in a game of hockey knows that it's special-er. I know that's not a real word, but it's more special, right? It's a different kind of special. We don't know why. Nobody could put a finger on it. It's just different. I mean, your kid plays, your kids played, you've played a long time. We know that the hockey locker room is just different.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I've played every sport out there
for good and bad.
That's true.
I played hockey briefly, marginally, and the hockey locker rooms are fucking wild.
It is insane.
Yeah, it's too getting a beer league.
Yeah, beer leagues are even.
It's even.
And my kid started playing hockey when he was 4.
Wow.
And he's 20. He's about to be 21 this year, and he's been playing ever since. He's never gotten off the ice, and I loved it. I wasn't around a lot when he was little playing, so I didn't really get to experience that part of it, with the parents going on trips and all that kind of stuff. I was deployed for a lot of that. But as he got into the teenage years, I wanted it so far away from that hockey locker room for those teenage kids. There's nothing more I wanted to just please, Navy, call me back.
Just please. The smell.
Just the kids in general, just the smell. The smell is horrible. The mouths are horrible. I mean, I'm a sailor and a fireman, and they were embarrassing me the way they were. That's kind of hard to do.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but that's what we're doing with our program. That we're taking that specialty of the hockey locker room, and we're using that as the place to go. It's supportive. Number one, point blank, it's supportive. I don't care if you skated for 10 years, if you skated for 50 years, if you skated for 5 minutes. It does not matter. Mm-hmm. Just right when we were setting up all this stuff, I got 2 more notifications that people were joining the program.
That's awesome.
We're helping veterans. We're up probably on paper. We're probably about 150 guys and girls right now. We have
that's great.
Both. Now on paper, I say that qualifying that. We got about 50, maybe 60 if they actually come around and do things on a regular basis with us, but
still a ton.
It is.
It is.
Especially for a kind of a niche program. Like we don't do camping trips. We don't do hunting trips. We use hockey. That's it. But we're taking the supportiveness of the hockey community, and especially in Pittsburgh, it's just such a great hockey community. Like we all know how good it is here, and we're just taking that the momentum that the Penguins have, even good and bad years, that they really support the community and development of hockey.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to just open up to anybody, regardless of skill set, regardless of experience. We just want to let them know that we're here. We don't care about going out and making the best team in the world. All we care about is going out and helping veterans stay alive.
That's awesome.
That's our 100% mission, is to support you, to support you, to support that guy. Just make sure that you're going to be here tomorrow to get in a fight with, to argue with, to get on the ice with. You know what? I would kind of what you were trying to say in the beginning. I don't remember that quote. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I'd rather be able to fight with you than cry about you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it's just really that you build that family, and that's what we're doing. We're just building that family. There's people who JP is a perfect example of, we didn't know each other at all. We stepped on the ice for a practice, and we kind of just bonded immediately, and we just became like family.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. I mean, he's easy to do that with, but there's everybody in our program. You know what I mean? It's just, you have, just like when we were in the military, you have goods and bad attitudes.
Yeah.
You have the mouth, you have the attitude, you have the, you name every characteristic of somebody you met in the military, we have it in that locker room.
Yeah.
Good and bad.
Yeah.
But that's what makes us who we are.
Yeah.
And that's why we're a successful program. And we the Warrior programs are nationwide. So it's a USA Hockey sponsored, loosely sponsored thing. We're trying to get it better, which we could talk about that later, but it's trying to get bigger. But there are programs that are just starting out, and a lot of times some of these new programs will contact us and say, "Hey, how are you guys so successful?" So the hardest thing we're doing is, like, I can get people all day long. I just need money. You know, with anything, with anything,
especially with hockey.
Yeah, exactly. So,
because it's very expensive.
Yeah, but we have to be selective who we take. You know, I mean, we have to figure those things out, because if you go on a road trip, you can't take 60 people on a road trip.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now you have to get into, I'm going to pick that guy, pick this girl, pick them, and then somebody else is going to get mad about it. So another side of what kind of evolved from what you're talking about is building the family side of things is, we started an in-house league. On every Sunday night, the Pens Foundation is extremely, whatever word you want to use, they're amazingly supportive of our program. They are,
awesome.
We're locked in with those guys, and that is the Penguins community outreach arm. So we're tied in with them, and they sponsor every Sunday night. They sponsor 2 sheets of ice for us. So it's 3 hours. It's over $1,000 that they sponsor every week for us, and it allows us to have an in-house league. So we take our roster, split it into 4 teams, and we have a tournament. Or not a tournament, but a season.
Yeah.
And we'll do 2 seasons usually. And we'll start in November, stop it at New Year's, and start it back up and end it in March.
We have a trophy. That sounds awesome.
So it's our trophy is kind of cool. I had a couple 5-inch shells from the destroyer I was on. So they're probably about 3.5 foot, almost whatever. We cut them down, but. And then there's the colonel, the chairman of the board on our team, one of the original guys that has been around here. He had I think it's a 108. I'm not real good with your guys' artillery stuff, but it's an artillery shell.
155 or 105.
Maybe 105. I don't know. He told me what it was, but I went so far in my head.
Yeah, I don't know.
But we had a guy put all them together, and we made a trophy. So that's
awesome.
It's pretty cool. So,
you do it like the Stanley Cup, like engrave the names?
No, we don't do all that
every year.
No, somebody has actually talked about that, but it's
got to raise some more money, dude.
Exactly.
Why you exactly?
Like if I got
looking at you to join, dude.
If I gotta choose between getting guys on the ice and then giving them equipment and traveling, I'll leave the engraving off it.
Yeah.
So, question for you, Dave, is how did you even get involved with the Warriors and why?
All right, so that's a weird tie-in story. Like everything in my life is involved with a weird tie-ins to something. So, like I said, I've been playing hockey since I was 8th grade. So however old that is, 13, something like that. So I'm 47 now. So I've been playing hockey for a long time. And I've always had an affinity for the game. I've loved everywhere that I've gone. I try to play some kind of adult league, or you get to San Diego, there's not much adult hockey. In the late 90s, early 2000s, there's very much nothing out there. So we had a sport court deck hockey rink on our base. I was on North Island where the Carriers were and the aviation guys. We had a sport court deck out there, and there was me and one other guy on the weekends would go out. He would be on one side, I'd be on the other side, just on rollerblades, just shooting around, just having a good old time. And that's all the hockey I could find out there.
Just
and-
like the volleyball scene in Top Gun.
Yeah, right. I kept my clothes on because nobody wants to see that. But so that was, I did that, and then, I went to Norfolk, but I was deployed a lot, so my family was with us. We were out to sea a lot, and that's one thing about the Navy. It's hard. It's a lot of people think like, no, you're just going out on the ocean, you're not getting shot at or anything like that. It's different. It's just there's different stressors. Like every one of us has a different story. That, and the Navy part of it is it's hard for us because we're gone all the time. Yeah. Like you do a 9-month deployment, but working up to that 9-month deployment, or 6 month if you ask the Navy, big Navy, but which turns out to 7 or 9. But that's the 2 years before that. You're out, in and out, constantly. There's no you can't build anything.
That training cycle.
Training cycles. It's deadly. It really is. It's hard. It's hard on a family structure. It's hard on a person's mental health. It's hard on the equipment. It's hard on the ship. It's just hard. So there wasn't really a lot. There's a gap that I didn't play any hockey. I didn't have anything to do with hockey for a long time. And fast forward, I did a recruiting tour back here in Pittsburgh after my first ship. And then I got in with the guys that I went to high school with. I played on high school hockey with all them. And we did roller hockey. We did ice. We did, you name it. It was all the same guys, the same friends. We all did our thing. I deployed again. And then came back to my next shore duty tour, which was at the Naval Academy. And the Naval Academy, this is a long answer to your question. So
That's all good. We got time.
But there's weird time. There's weird ties to everything. So the Naval Academy has a collegiate hockey team. So it's a club D1 club team. It's not they're not playing against Michigan or anything like that. They're playing it.
My nephew played on the D1 club team at URI, and they used to go down to Annapolis all the time.
Yep. Yeah. So that's good hockey. Those
it's
kids,
really good.
Those kids are really good. So every sports team in Annapolis has a senior enlisted leader for that team to make sure that the kids, the midshipmen, stay in line.
They're kids.
They're kids.
Yeah,
Kids.
they're
Oh,
kids,
trust me, they're 100% kids.
Yeah.
But so when I got there and I heard that, it was about a year, and I'm just like, okay, that's cool. I went to watch some games, and I got to know the senior chief that was running the team, and there's an officer, a commander that was on the team, and that ran the team totally. But when Brad was getting ready to transfer out, I said, "Oh, this is great." So I already knew everybody. So I'm just gonna move. I rolled right in, and I got on with those guys. So hockey was like really hardcore back in my life again, and I was played for a fire department team right outside of Annapolis, Baltimore area, the Anne Arundel Fire Department. I played with them, and those guys they were my family at that point. Like they were just hockey just brought it together, just like with what I'm doing now. So I was just really playing a lot and playing a lot of hockey. So fast forward to the next time I deployed, I was back down in Norfolk again. My family stayed here, and I didn't have anything to do. I was by myself down there.
Yeah.
So it was long nights, long weekends, just nothing. I wasn't driving up here every weekend. I drove up here a lot, but not every weekend. So a couple guys got me on a couple different teams down there, and I was playing. So fast forward to the end of my career, 2015, I came home in July. I was on terminal leave, and my friend Adam, who is a fireman with us, when I was recruiting, Adam was real young, and I helped kind of mentor him into joining the Marine Corps. And artillery guy for the Marine Corps, and he went through some stuff and had some struggles, but that's a story for a whole nother time. He can come on and tell you that story at some point. But so he knew that I was real involved in hockey, and I'd been playing hockey my whole life, and he heard about this thing called the Pittsburgh Warriors on Facebook, wherever he heard about it at. He sent it to me, and I looked at it, and they were having tryouts or open ice, or they were having some kind of event.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't make it to it. So I wasn't able to go. And I just kind of wrote it off and just played some beer league and just did whatever else. Fast forward another year after that, Adam hits me back up and said, "Hey, the Warriors are doing it again. Go check them out."
Yeah.
So this is the current version of the Warriors. There's been two versions of the Pittsburgh Warriors. So the first time he told me about it was the original team. The second time he told me about it was after they reimagined themselves into what we are now. So I called I Facebook messaged the guy that was in charge, and I said, "Hey, I'm a retired Navy. I'd like to come check it out." And it's been downhill ever since.
I do remember.
But So, and you were a lot of that conversation. So,
yeah.
And that's the weird tie into the whole thing, though, is like I helped Adam get into the military. Well, not helped. He did it on his own, but I mentored him to get into the military. We both were out of the military, back firefighting like we were before he joined.
Yep.
And now if that never would have happened and he never joined the military, he never would have cared about telling me about the Warriors, and never would have happened.
And Adam's such a good guy too, man.
Yeah, he's
such a great dude.
So it's like, and then that's right around when I was meeting you.
Yep, when I joined.
Yeah, it was. So life is weird. It's full of connections. That's why I try telling my kids all the time that everything's connected. It's all about who you know. And
yep.
So that's my long ass answer to how I got involved with the Warriors. So
good.
Yeah.
So, I got a question, because the name of our show, the show, is the Post Trauma Podcast. So I don't know if you're willing to share, like, you know, we all have trauma, but like, I don't know if you want to get into that. Like,
absolutely.
How, like, that trauma kind of got you kind of to where you are now, like with hockey and everything.
Yeah,
else.
trauma's defined in weird ways. So some people think physical trauma, some people think mental trauma. PTSD is a real thing, for real thing. And everybody has a different way that they attack trauma, right? Everybody has a different reason why they have trauma. You could be walking down the street and see somebody. I'm not going to get into scenarios and all that stuff. We all know what it is.
Trauma is trauma.
Yeah, exactly.
Car accident,
Right.
You know.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
You had to mention that, didn't you?
That wasn't your fault.
it probably was.
Now you got
Trees falling on telephone poles.
That's true.
all that. I meant the
Anyway,
Look, I never got hurt firefighting, so
amazingly.
So, yeah. So like I've never had diagnosed anything. I've had my knee, my elbow, shoulder, physical injuries from when I was on active duty, wear and tear on an old man's body. That's everybody in our program is a service connected veteran. Mm-hmm. So, or we have a couple active duty guys and a couple guys processing for service connection, but everybody in our program has a service connection through the VA. All my connections are all basically on the side of my body. It's kind of weird, but they're all joint related type stuff. I've never even been evaluated for any kind of mental stress, any kind of mental health issues, anything like that. But my big thing was when I got home. So remember I said that I was in my last ship right before I retired, and I was down there by myself. So I was on my own doing whatever I wanted to do, whenever I wanted to do it. I lived on the ship.
yeah.
So the ship was my life.
So you were the stereotypical crusty old senior chief.
Yeah.
Every time I came around, they're like, oh, man, he's here still. Go and do something. Like I was literally there. Like I would stay for a whole weekend and never leave the ship. I would take, we had a duty rotation. So we would stand, depending on what time, when it was, if it was in a shipyard or if it was regular, we'd stand like every 3 or 4 days, you would have a 24-hour duty cycle. So if it was on a weekend and if I had my duty day on a Saturday, I'm not coming back to Pittsburgh for one day. Mm-hmm. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I would take people's duty Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that way, when it came my time, they take my day. So I get 3 full weekends a month instead of just one.
Yeah.
I'll sit there for 36 hours on it.
Yeah.
I don't care. That's where I live. Who cares? So, but I was in my routine. I was in my thing. I did whatever I wanted to do, whenever I wanted to do it, and whatever. My wife and my kids were up here doing their thing the way they wanted to do it. When I retired and I came home, those two worlds collided like two Mack trucks head on. It was bad. It was really bad. And it's still, I've been retired for this. It's been 9 years since I've been home. And it's still, there are times where I struggle to fit in. It really just, and you look for that outlet. You look for that, how am I going to mentally get in my space, get back to where I need to be? And that's what a big part of what this program is doing for me. It allows me to kind of really like focus on leadership again. I don't have to lead these guys because we're all adults.
Yeah.
We're not in the military anymore, but I still get in that. Somebody has to like really think outside the box for certain things. I love doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I like being involved.
Yeah.
I guess like I can't not be involved. And that's what this program is doing for me. But that's how I'm being helped by this program, is because it's allowing me to focus on something to keep my attitude, to keep my mental part healthy.
So the struggle at the challenge at home, is it because you're trying to live like a very military lifestyle household, or
you can't tell your wife to shut the fuck up?
Well, you've met my wife. Nobody can tell her that.
I go around knife handing.
So I actually lived that life, and I screwed a lot of things up with my kids. So in their teenage years, especially my daughter, she's 25, about to be 25. Her formidable years when we were living together, and her like young teenage years and all that kind of stuff. I was that guy. Yeah. I was at the Naval Academy, so I was I was in that mindset of
Knife hand.
Yeah.
I was around hardcore drill instructor Marines, yelling at kids all day long and just keeping discipline, and I never turned it off.
Yeah.
So when I came home, me and my wife were always getting into it. I was yelling at the kids for no reason at all. It was bad. It was real bad.
That's real common too.
It is.
To not be able to turn that off, especially like the situation with you, like you, where that's your life, like is discipline. And
Yep.
it's such a 180 to be able to try and turn that off.
Yeah.
And you really want to with your wife and kids, but you just.
I never thought about it though. It never even entered my mind. Now looking back on it, I hate the fact that it was like
and
that.
it kind of screws with your mind a little bit because you're like, oh, why did I do this? Or you look back on it, and you're like,
then you
what
feel
the fuck?
guilty.
You
That's
feel
it.
guilty.
That's
You
it.
feel,
Especially like I think about, just how the influence of a father and a daughter at that period of a girl's life, and I didn't help any of it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But now, I mean, we're best friends now. Like we're really good now. Like,
Yeah.
and it's just like it's weird how things turn around and things change, but everything happens for a reason. You know what I mean? So I just hate the fact that they had to go through that because of what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that's a hard thing to come to grips with. I imagine it was difficult for you.
It still is. Yeah.
Yeah. So what can you talk about the process you went through to like come to that realization, and then how you went through like the process with your kids at all?
Yeah,
That's a good question.
I don't know that I really ever processed that the right way. It kind of just started working. It's just them as adults now. It just kind of is falling into place.
Yeah.
And I never actively tried to figure that part out.
Yeah.
So I don't know that. I hope one day I can figure it out. But,
Yeah.
but I've never taken the time to try and figure that out because it just kind of is working.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm in that transition now, whereas like I'm realizing what I've done to like my son, for example, and like just little things that he does that are probably due because of the fact how I was towards him when he was younger, and now I'm starting to come to that realization of like, oh crap, and trying to fix everything now, and like you said, it's like you don't want to try to figure it out. You just kind of want to push forward and move forward and just be better.
And I can kind of speak to the opposite side because my dad was a state trooper.
Yeah.
And he worked because for a long time he was essentially the sole breadwinner of our house. So he worked overtime and doubles and all that shift, 6, 7, 11 days a week. All that's 11 days.
Hey man, that makes sense though.
But he would
understand
come
that.
home and
Yeah.
he was always distant because he just couldn't not be a trooper. And so he's been retired for a long time now, and I think at the growing up, like dad's always mad, and and then like now you kind of as you grow up and become an adult, then you start to understand it. My dad's expressed a lot of guilt about it. I told him like that I understand, but as a kid on the other side, like your kids will forgive
Yeah.
you. Like my dad did what he had to do, just like you did what you had to do to support your family.
Yeah, hopefully I'll figure it out. But that's a great
Sounds like
question.
you already have.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't
That's
try
true.
to figure it out. It just kind of worked out that way.
Well, but I mean, I think just listening to all of us talking, my own experience, my own kids, and the mistakes I made, I think there's some value in the fact that we're even asking the question of ourselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be a lot easier to be like, just crack me another beer. They'll get over it.
10 years ago, this conversation didn't happen.
Right. Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
We'd be sitting here drinking and getting stupid and not.
Yeah.
That's how it would
10
be.
years
Talking
ago,
about
yeah,
the
for
pitching
sure.
lineup for the fucking whatever the name of the baseball
Yeah,
team is in
yeah.
this town. I don't even know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you bring up that's a great question, and it's a great point that we as an adult, especially an adult male community, we need to allow that conversation to happen.
Yeah.
Especially inside the veteran community, because everybody wants to be a tough guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody wants to be the hardest guy in the room, and that's stupid.
So to kind of bank off that, what we were talking about, let's go on the fire side now. Like in the mental health aspect of the fire side.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So, as married as I was to the military, I think I'm more married to the fire department. And it's weird because I'm in my family, and if the thing goes off, I go.
Yeah.
No matter what we're doing. There's very few times where I don't respond to
You didn't miss too many calls.
Nah, I'm one of the top 3 call volume guys
Yeah.
consistently. top 5. Depends on who.
But we were talking about the other day is like how, let's talk about the fire service here for a second, is that the fire service is so stuck in old ways that we are not talking about trauma. For example, we always go back to the motorcycle incident, you know, and with a young kid, you know, I'll let you tell the story, but
yeah, we see a lot of things, and it's really weird too, because in Pennsylvania generically, but especially in this part of the city, we're all volunteers. We all do this for fun, right? Like for fun, quote unquote. Yeah. It's not a job. We don't have a union that has the counseling, the peer counseling, like the city fire department has. We don't have any of that stuff. So we do this with the training that we get now is better than it was, but it's still not where it needs to be. So unless you're a certain kind of person, processing what you see out there, you get a kid out of high school who just likes fire trucks and likes hearing a siren. Yeah. And now he becomes a fireman. You take that kid and you put him in a murder scene. You put him in a car wreck. Yeah. He has to be there because we get called to respond to help the community. Nobody else is going to do it. So we've had a guy in our company who I am very close with. This young man.
He's a very good, very good kid.
He's a good fireman, hell of a fireman. He's very involved in our company. We had a call. We have a pretty rough project in our portion of West Mifflin, and there's a lot of shootings. Not a lot, but there are shootings more so than you would imagine them to be. And we got called to provide lighting for one of them at the middle of the night. And he and I went there, and it was just he and I. We're the only ones that responded that night. So we're sitting off to the side. We had the truck running, the lights were going, and detectives are doing their thing and whatever. And the lead medic or one of the medical examiner people, that's who it was, she comes over, she goes, "Hey, you guys have a tarp on that truck, right?" I said, "Yeah, we have one." So she's like, "All right, I need you to grab it and come over and hold it because we need to do some things to the body. We don't want the family to be able to see it." Cool. All right, got it. So we grab it, and we're standing from about me and you away from this dude who had about 6 or 7 bullets in him. Yeah. And they're doing all their investigative stuff, and he was white as a ghost. Yeah. Barely out of high school. I mean, he's wanted to be a fireman his whole life. This is what he wants to do. But where's the support for that? How do you now identify as that in his shoes? How do you identify that there's a problem, first of all? Other than the fact you're terrified of what you just saw. Yeah. But also in the fact that the community that we're in, that has to be normal. You have to be able to get through that. If you can't get through that, then you're weird or you're not a good fireman. Yep. Something's wrong with you. So the discussion,
which that is not,
it's insane.
It's not healthy at all.
And that's the part about
it's like the worst possible thing you could do.
Yes,
that's the mentality.
You know, we've seen very, very bad car wrecks. We've seen, you name it, it's out there.
Well, it's just like the motorcycle accident where we were doing compressions. We talk about that constantly.
Yeah, he and I have had a couple really bad motorcycle wrecks that I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical person, but those people were in bad shape. And we had another young man, very brand new in the fire service. We get to a motorcycle wreck. We happened to be at training or we were something. I forget what we were doing. And we got there first. We got there before the police did. We got there before the medics did. And we're just a bunch of volunteer jackasses that ride on fire trucks. Realistically, he has extensive training in this kind of stuff. I've been doing it for a long time. But some of these other guys, this is not normal for them, right? It's not normal for us either. But we're adapted to the process. So we get there, give out some instructions to some of the guys. He gets out there, starts doing his thing, doing compressions. And this kid we changed his life that day. His life this was another kid, a different kid, but it's just, so I've had a lot of talk with the chief fire marshal for the county about this. And one of his big missions is opening up the mental health talk in the volunteer fire community in Western Pennsylvania. So he's brought in speakers, a guy named Travis Howes. He's a veteran. I'm going to say Marine Corps. I might be wrong. He's either Army or Marine Corps. I forget. He's a firefighter down in Charleston. I think it was Charles, Savannah. He was firefighter somewhere. Yeah. Also a police officer somewhere.
I know this. He was on Sean Ryan's podcast. He talked about he's the guy who was there for that terrible mattress factory fire.
Yep. It was his crew that was in that mattress factory.
Yeah.
fire.
So he was digging his buddies' bodies out of the fire.
Yep.
Yeah. He has a wild story.
It's So I got to go meet him, and he's an amazing person.
Yeah.
He's trying to normalize this thing nationwide. So we're trying to normalize it. But the problem is, the biggest problem with the volunteer fire service around here is that everybody thinks they need to be better than the next guy. They need to be harder. They need to be that we could run fires together. You could be your company, I could be my company, but I'm always obviously better than you are. Everything I do is better than you, no matter what. And you think the exact opposite. Like, you think you're better than me at everything. And we have to, it's a measuring contest. You know what I mean?
It's the same thing in the military.
It is. Yeah. It's the exact same thing. But the problem we have with that, with the volunteer fire service, is the discussion doesn't happen.
No.
It's kind of sort of starting to get ahead, but it's nowhere near where we are in a veteran community.
Yeah, luckily at our station, you have you, of course, and you kind of brought that to light more.
We've definitely opened up our eyes to it.
Yeah, so not to be graphic, but like this kid standing next to me when I was doing compressions, the dude had a lot to drink, so everything was coming out of his mouth. You heard the initial pop, and he's just kind of laying there. I knew he was gone, but you got to do compressions until ambulance gets there. And he's just standing over top of me. First thing I asked you was, I was like, "Is he okay?" Because he was literally right behind me, just watching me just do compressions as this guy's vomiting, and not to be graphic, but like,
it was nasty.
Not doing too good.
And I know I've helped you, not me personally, but we have helped you get through some emotional times too.
Yeah,
so we try and take the training that we have in the military on the buddy program, the buddy support system. And we try and bring that.
There's been times where I've called you and I've broke down. So
So the fire community and the military community really mirror each other in the need for this conversation to happen. Mm-hmm. So, in fact, like you said, the fact that we're having this conversation is we're winning.
Yeah.
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 And to get, tell civilians about, what goes on, because the mental health with civilians, first responders and military are all the same. It's the trauma acts the exact same way.
Trauma don't care who you are, what your job is,
exactly,
nationality, whatever. It doesn't care.
And that's one of the things, like, going through some of the different stuff that I've seen, military-wise and fire department-wise, is I bet you I could go to a doctor right now and get diagnosed.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's a problem, but I've compartmentalized everything, and I think I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
One day I'm not going to be cool with it. That's the way that they say that happens.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But my daughter has her master's in forensic psychology, and she has diagnosed me with about 8,000 different things. So
that's
if she's allowed to prescribe anything, I'd be on everything. But but I know, and I know I'm not going to stop doing this fire thing anytime soon, and I know it's not going to get any better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just want to be there for the other people who need the help.
But you have healthy mechanisms to kind of, in a way, like especially with hockey, it's kind of therapeutic.
It is.
It's not that you're just kind of out there hanging in the wind by yourself. Like, you have the hockey, you have the locker room, the bench, the fire department. Like, it's all kind of.
That's one of the reasons why he and I are such good friends, is because we were on that same wavelength, and we're able to talk like veterans, when no other veterans were around, and we're able to talk openly.
Yeah, Dave was actually, I think, the second person I met when I went to volunteer.
But I think it's also important too. Like, we have one, Pete's not a veteran, not first responder, not nothing. Like,
just a boring civilian,
just a muggle, But like, you've had your share of trauma. Like, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But those two communities need to be able to kind of share. Like, hey, I'm messed up. Hey, I'm messed up. Yep. I'm not a veteran. We're all messed up. Like, so it's.
Yeah, that's kind of the key, is if all of the communities come together and help each other, then it's going to get a lot better.
There are some, for lack of a better term, special needs that the veteran and the first responder community kind of need. Because their traumas are a little more specific.
Acute.
Thank you.
And that's a big thing of what we're doing. Educated over here.
Yes.
I have 2 degrees. But.
Oh, man.
No. Okay. Oh, he beat you, Pete.
That's one of the things that we're really successful with as far as warrior programs nationwide, but especially here, is we figured out that those special needs that veterans have, you got a lot of TBIs. You have a lot of PTSD. You have a lot of other very severe challenges that veterans are facing. So the TBIs especially, you can't heal a TBI. You can't do it. Once the damage is done, you can't heal it. So, but there are ways to cope and fix around it. Sure. So what we've figured out, I mean, Pittsburgh didn't figure it out, but the veteran hockey community has figured out the fact that when you're out there, when you're doing every day, walking down the street, riding a bike, driving a car, your brain is programmed to do that. And that's what your brain knows how to do.
Yep.
Yeah. You get the injury and now your brain kind of knows how to do that in a way, not the way that it always learned how to do it, but it knows how to do that function, but it had to adjust a little bit to it.
Yep. Yeah.
But it has the problem in the middle and it kind of just comes outside the problem to get to the result. Right.
Yeah.
So you get on the ice, you're using completely different muscles. You're using completely different brain patterns. You're using completely different everything just to stand up on the ice.
Yep.
Right. Now, standing up is one thing. Skating is another thing. Yep. So now you're using completely different brain patterns. So now your brain is expanding a little bit more how to get around a problem.
It's new neural pathways.
It is. That's exactly the way. I'm not smart enough to say those things, but that's exactly what we're doing. We've had a lot of like real smart brain people talk about that aspect of it.
Brain people.
Yeah, I mean, hey, dude,
it's great. We should just call this episode "Brain People."
But yeah, I mean, dude, I fix radars. Come on, man.
Yeah.
But
maybe you spent too much time close to those radars.
100% sure about that.
Yeah.
Can I just jump on that? I don't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
Years ago, I read about a program out in California that was using surfing for overcoming addiction and PTSD. It's the same thing. Like if you've ever tried to surf, you've been in San Diego. You must have.
I've never tried.
Dude, you live the surfer.
Dude, I'm a city boy through.
Yeah. Anyhow, but like it's freaking hard, dude. It's not easy to get up. It's not easy to balance. But once you finally I used to bodyboard when I was a kid. First time I ever got barreled as an adult was right after Hurricane Sandy, and my ex-wife came to pick me up at the beach. My son was like 3 weeks old, and she's like, "What's wrong with you?" And she's like, "You seem high." And it was like this insane dopamine rush. And I was like, I felt great for like the next 6 hours. But like, I think learning and experiencing new stuff and like back to hockey, like when you're flowing on the ice, I was a very shitty hockey player, but it's a beautiful game when you're flowing with the team. It's beautiful.
And that's one of the biggest successes that we have is you go out there. Every week we have made the quote unquote guarantee to have 1 hour of ice every week, no matter what. There's a couple weeks around holidays, or if we have a tournament and there's like low turnout or something like that, we might not have ice. But we're doing our best to have 1 week of ice, routinize everything. We want to make it so these guys and girls know that every Friday night we're going to be here on the ice to do the physical thing and also to do the mental thing and the support system thing. And then we do tournaments and all that crap too, but every week we have it, we're there, the support network is there.
Yeah.
So
just to draw the kind of parallel from that to like the martial arts community, it's very, very similar. It's like we're jiu-jitsu guys, and like the first time, like I'm sure you guys both remember. I remember the first time I was on the mat. Like
I got choked on.
It's a completely alien thing to like. Okay, I'm gonna like what I need to put my hand here and there, and I'm gonna squeeze and try and choke this guy on. It's the same. It's like learning how to skate. Yep. And then learn how to stand up and learn how to skate, and then learn how to
stick hand,
carry the puck.
And,
So there's nothing normal about trying to reprocess things. Yeah. And like with what you guys are doing with guys on the ice, every second is different.
Yeah.
You're not swinging a bat the same way every time. You're not. It's every single second is different whenever you're involved in that aspect of things. So
right, and I've seen too. Like there's all those, especially for veterans and first responders. It's hockey, it's skiing, it's snowboarding, it's baseball,
some
it's
extreme
basketball,
sport.
it's scuba diving, it's surfing. There's all these, just to kind of like we were saying a little bit ago. Like there's new neural pathways and like. Just to get somebody out of their own head and doing something else.
So there's something that JP said when he was on, and I'm sure he's probably said something similar to you. I just want to get your perspective on it. But like the value for him, and you touched on it, is like he gets on the ice, he falls down and gets back up. But he talked about how learning how to fail safely again which in his role in the military, there is no failure because guys die.
Yep.
So I would love to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, that's when you humble yourself enough to be able to do that, you win.
Yeah.
And if it's the people that can't humble themselves enough to fail successfully are the guys that struggle a lot with this kind of thing. And this is my personal opinion on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
No background on it whatsoever, but guys like JP are perfect examples of it. You go out there, they don't know what they're doing. They go out and fall on their face the first time. Somebody's skating right up over to them and saying, hey, try this.
Yep.
Or, hey, do that.
Yep.
Or, you start building that support network from day one, minute one. We're not going to go out there and say, oh, you suck. I mean, I do that because it's fun.
I would do it to JP.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but, if somebody falls, you'll go over and smack them on the ass with a stick and whatever.
Yeah.
But then you're going to help them up and trying to teach them to get better and all that kind of stuff.
A lot of parallels, like especially with humility and like what we do. Like starting out, like you just get your ass kicked.
Yep.
And you feels like you're not getting it. You feel like it, and it's the people that can't humble themselves are the ones that just don't stick with it. Because Justin, you guys both know, like, and I've seen it. Like I've done jiu-jitsu for a long, long time, and I've seen it. Like you'll get these dudes in there, 22, 23 out of college. They wrestled in high school, and they wrestled since they were like 6 years old. They come in, they just dominate everybody. But as soon as that first guy beats them, like they can't handle it. Their ego takes a hit, and they just quit coming. And so it's that being able to humble yourself to suck at a new task, to kind of get outside of what you're good. Because it's easy to it's easy for you to go skate and play hockey because you're good at it. I mean, relatively
goodish.
He still can't scar me, so it's okay.
But like if you came and tried jiu-jitsu with us, you would be.
I'd be miserably failed.
You'd be like trying to stand up on skates again.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. There are a lot of parallels between the two. I agree with that.
So,
go ahead.
Oh, you're good. To go off to, I don't know if you want to speak about it, but we spoke about it on the phone about a certain somebody, and you had to help them and stuff like that. I don't know if you want to go into that.
Yeah, so I won't get into real graphic detail about it, but we've had a couple people in our program that.
Just to reiterate, like how tight of a group you are.
Yeah, that's a great topic to talk about, and I've gotten the okay to talk about it, but I don't want to get into much detail for it. So, but we've had a couple guys who got to the point where they didn't want to be here anymore, and made attempts, and one guy in particular was successful in his attempt, but he took steps ahead of time right before he did it, and everything happened the way it did. The police were able to get there, get him, and start reviving him, and he's okay. He talks about it. He's open. He's a success story for what we're doing, and the chain of life that happened. He was brand new in our program. He reached out to somebody else who was brand new in our program, who reached out to the team on one of our chat servers, and it was like 1:30 in the morning or whatever it was, and the phone tree started. The things. So thankfully. It worked. Pittsburgh has been very fortunate that we've been able to support each other and haven't been. That was the one situation that's happened that we weren't proactive with. There's been a couple other ones where people got to that point and made a call and went and locked themselves in a house and just wouldn't talk to anybody, wouldn't come around. So there's a group of us that. Every time somebody calls, I drop everything I'm doing. Unless I'm on a fire scene. That's the only time I won't. And I make that, everybody understands that no matter what happens, if I'm in the city and I'm capable of leaving whatever I'm doing, I'll leave work. Yeah. I'll do whatever. If one of these guys needs me to stay alive, I'm going to be there. Unless I'm on a fire scene. Because I can't just leave the house that's on fire. So, and we've had a couple guys who've made phone calls, who've made comments on social media, who've done couple different things. There's one or two stories. I wasn't directly involved in it, but I've heard a story of a guy who had a gun in his mouth, made a phone call, and now he's fine. Well, I wouldn't say fine because nobody's ever fine if you're at that point, but he's still here.
Yeah, and then he's still here because he had that support system from you guys, and that's a big deal.
And that's
the thing when people start thinking those thoughts, they think they don't have
anybody. Yeah,
they're like, I'm alone. This is the only way I can solve my loneliness. Like, and that's where I was at the very beginning when I started saying that we're not here to be a competitive hockey program. Yeah.
We're here to be a support system. And the hockey thing is really just the fun part about what we're doing.
Yeah.
The other part of it, I consider us a veteran service organization that plays hockey.
It's fun therapy.
It is. It's fun therapy.
It
really
like
is.
jiu-jitsu. It's fun therapy.
It's fun therapy, yeah.
So, but we've created the community that I believe and I hope that people are comfortable enough to make that phone call before they get to that point.
Yeah.
We've had wives call. We've had, neighbors, friends, anybody that's concerned about that veteran. And it doesn't even have to be somebody on our program. If somebody calls me, like I've been on media everywhere. I've been on the school board at the Penguin Games, whatever. There's people that know I'm associated with the Warriors. If anybody calls me and says, hey, I got a veteran that's struggling, if I'm able to do something about it, I will do something about it. I might not be able to. But the guys in our program, they are my family. So my wife she's amazing in the support that she gives me for the support I give. I've been doing this program. I've been involved with the Warriors since
It's been a while.
December of 18 is when I first came around the program. And not once has she ever complained about me doing something with this team, whether it be going on the ice, whether it be a tournament, nothing.
Well, I'm sure she's seen a positive.
She gets it.
Yeah, she's definitely probably seen a positive outcome because you're doing it, right?
And it's not just your family. I mean, you figure even if it's just those 60 active members, that's 60 people and the 60 families around them that you guys are positively impacting. You know, that's can't change the world, but you can change your community.
If we can keep one veteran from being a post, we've started using the term post-combat casualty.
Yeah.
I don't know where it came from. I don't know who started it. Sam, our chairman, is the one who got me saying it, and it's impactful. You can use the terms that are out there. They're very impactful. 22 veterans a day commit suicide. That number is there.
Yeah.
That number is not going to go away in the discussion. But our job is to make sure that number dwindles. And get it as close to or at zero. Our mission, especially with the Warriors, our mission is to end veteran suicide.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to end it nationwide, but I can do my part to make sure that
if you save one person,
exactly,
it's worth it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So if someone wants to join or is watching us today and wants to more information on how to join the Warriors program, where would they go?
Everything's on our website, www.pghwarriorhockey.org.
And for people that aren't in Pittsburgh, I'm sure there are other organizations.
That's a great,
probably just through USA Hockey.
That's a great way to put it. There are, if you just, whatever city you're in, almost every NHL city has a program, and a lot of non-NHL cities have programs. So you can go to USA Hockey. Contact me. No, if somebody out there is
everybody watching, call him.
Hey.
We'll put his personal number in the comments.
I have a Google Voice number, so you can. But I mean, like seriously, no joke. If you are outside of Pittsburgh and you have somebody that is interested, I've done that. I hooked a guy up in Alaska.
Yeah,
nice.
I mean, there's people that I have connections all throughout the country through this Warrior program, and if I don't have it, somebody I know does.
And just with the organization too, because we hit like hockey's expensive. Like, do you guys provide gear and all that stuff?
Yeah, and so I get talking about a lot of stuff, and I forget the important parts of what we're doing. So, so we don't require any. Pittsburgh, it's a very specific thing for us. Not all programs do this, but we have a storage locker full of equipment that people have donated to us over the years. It might not be brand new, it might not be top of the line, but it's capable. I've gone through it all personally. And the stuff that's not good, I get rid of. Or the stuff that's older than me. I found there's somebody donated a pair of shin pads that are older than you, bro.
That's awesome.
They're not going to get one of those Jofa helmets from like 1982.
They're in my garage because somebody donated one. Those shin pads are the same ones I used in high school.
Vintage.
Yeah. So
that's
so we do
sell them to hipsters, dude.
If people want to come out and get involved in a program, we'll figure out a way to get them out.
Yeah.
If we can't, then we'll ask for donations. Our goal is to make the program as cost neutral to the veteran as possible. There are some things that they got to pay for. Like we have a tournament coming up in Long Island that is just a local tournament they invited us to, a little throw together that the Warriors out there did. We can't afford to send a team out there.
Yeah.
So we just don't have the money for that. So we said, hey, if you want to go, sign up, pay your way. You guys can go wearing the jersey, represent us, but we can't pay for you to go.
Yeah. So if a civilian or somebody who can't be a part of it wants to donate, how could they do that?
That's on the website.
It's all on the website.
Yeah, if there's questions, contact me. My email and my phone number are on our website.
Okay. Just mail Dave a check.
I mean, you could definitely. People have done that too. So people hand me checks all the time. So, but the people at PNC Bank on Route 51 love me. They're like,
what is this?
But yeah, it's that's our biggest struggle with our program is money. Just like anything else. But hockey is so expensive, and to have a program that supports that many veterans. It's
unbelievable. Expensive. You have 60 skaters that you've provided gear for. People that don't play hockey,
that blows my mind.
We haven't donated. I mean, we haven't provided for every single person, but there's a good amount of people that come out. And I mean, if they want to buy their own gear, buy their own gear. Yeah. But like we provide jerseys. We don't make them pay for any of that stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And
which those of you that don't play hockey, that is by far the exception.
Yeah.
If because my son plays hockey and on a separate team,
$500 for a helmet.
Yeah, it's insane.
Home jersey, away jersey, home socks, away socks.
We have I don't know how much time. We're probably getting close on time.
We got 5 or 10 minutes.
So we've gained an extremely close relationship with Ryan Malone, who's an ex-Penguin. Him and his dad both are ex-Penguins. Malone he used to be Sidney Crosby's roommate, I believe, if the story's right. But he was in the 2000s. 10s-ish, around those years. And he's from Pittsburgh. He grew up not very far from where we're sitting right now. He grew up in Upper St. Clair, so he's still very much tied to the program, to the Penguins themselves. He's involved with the NHL alumni and all that kind of stuff. And we have an extremely close relationship with him and his dad and their foundation, and they're huge supporters of us. And they've expanded. He lives in Tampa now, so he's expanded onto the Tampa Warriors and doing the same thing he's done for us down with them. He made a huge donation to us a couple years ago, helmets and gloves, two of the most expensive parts of the protective equipment you can buy. He donated 60 sets of them to us. So, and it's just, and he's done a couple of events. He does some off-ice stuff with us. He did a wellness camp that he started out with us last year, us, Johnstown, and another group called It's About the Warrior. He did it for us last year. This year he did it again with us, but he also took it out to a Hendrickson tournament in Minnesota, which is a national level tournament. So he did a Warrior camp for national Warrior programs, and he's getting NHL to back it up now. He's getting into the NHL.
Oh, wow.
So he's trying to get the NHL back into it.
And I don't know if you know, Dave, but Ryan Malone also does jiu-jitsu.
He does.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
So it's like super, like everything's tied in, right? So we met him at
belt too, I think.
Is he?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
We met him at that Hendrickson tournament a couple years ago, and JP was honored with a huge recognition there for just what he does and who he is. It was a gigantic recognition for him.
That's awesome.
He's not going to talk about it because he's a humble ass dude. Yeah. But he got a nice check, and they told him that about this he's humble.
Yeah.
And they told him that he was going to turn around and donate the check to the program. And they told him he is not allowed to give that check to us. It's for his family.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was just going to, he didn't even think about it. He's just going to turn around and hand it right back to us. But one of our guys, Nick, met Bugsy there somehow. Bugsy was there for a celebrity tournament, met him and got to talking to him. Obviously the Pittsburgh ties, so he came over to talk to us. So he used to be volunteer fireman too.
Wow, really?
Ryan.
He and I, when I found that out, we became like new best friends.
Oh, dude, that's
awesome. Did we just become best friends?
Yeah, pretty much. And and then after that, like he, when he came back to Pittsburgh, his foundation was brand new, just starting out, and we got involved with them. And
that's so awesome that pros give back like that, because Tyler Kennedy does a lot with youth hockey, that flies completely under the radar.
He's a supporter of our program too.
Yeah, he's awesome. My son did a clinic of his back in the spring, like a pre-tryout warm-up kind of thing, and he's just out there. He's an awesome dude. The kids were just they listened to him. I'm like,
yeah, there are some programs out there like Philly. They have actual ex-NHL players as coaches. Like the Philly Flyers program is 100% bought into that program.
Yeah,
100%. And
one good thing about the Flyers.
Well, that's
just the only good thing.
But the Penguins are huge supporters of ours too. But that level of relationship we're still trying to work on. But that's what Ryan's trying to do. He's trying to make it nationwide because he understands the value of what we're doing for veterans and first responders.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's taking that jiu-jitsu thing. He's kind of putting it all together.
Maybe we can get him on the show. Maybe.
I'll work
Ryan Malone, if you're watching.
For the record, I have a place in Tampa. We could all do a remote show. Just saying.
We could, yeah.
Road trip.
Road trip.
And we could all get on the mats and
He can kick my butt.
He's into the holistic side of things too, so it's
Good.
That's
cool.
I'll definitely try and see if I can hook that.
Yeah,
up for
absolutely.
You guys,
All right, we got to wrap things up here.
we can go over it a little bit if I hate to cut you
I'm gonna
off.
stop talking.
I had one just kind of like fun question to wrap things up.
Yeah, I like fun questions.
So I correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say that I just saw MDMA got an emergency approval for veterans therapy like in the last 2 weeks, right?
I'll go with that. I don't know.
Did I see that wrong? I know that there's
Pete's the resident chemical connoisseur.
yes, yes.
I know there's been a lot of studies
so
for
there's
it, but
been a ton of like
Legal,
there's stuff,
of course.
No, there's
yes,
stuff.
all
There's
legal.
been studies
Supplements.
at NYU,
lot of
studies at Johns
shots.
Hopkins.
Acai
I asked
Jesus.
just because I personally did a clinical course of ketamine, and it basically rewired my fucking brain, changed me. So I'm just wondering if you guys had any experience with that, or
we have some guys that have looked into it a little bit, but I don't know any details for it, so I don't want to talk ignorant about
Okay.
it. But
Yeah. And also, if any of your members want to come on here and share their story, that would be awesome.
Because that's kind of what this is about. Like, I was talking about this to somebody else kind of outside of this. Like, we're not professionals. We're just like, it's an avenue for people like you and the three of us to just kind of share the story and like your kind of mental health journey and kind of
Sharing is caring.
sharing is caring. What is it? Was it sadness shared is divided? And
Yeah.
joy shared is multiplied or something.
Well, one of our
One of those old. I'm terrible
Yeah,
with things.
exactly.
Like
It's
I'm gonna be
okay.
on my way home, then I'd be like, "Oh, it's this done." I can't. I don't talk good.
one of our main missions here is to make it not taboo to talk about your trauma.
this is definitely a comfortable environment for me to talk. That's for sure.
These chairs.
Yeah,
These chairs
it
are
is.
kind of.
These are. Thanks, Pete.
Yeah. So, to answer your question, no, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know anything about that stuff. I'm very ignorant to that whole part of the world. So
I first heard about it. This guy, Dr. Michael Pollan, it was interviewed on a podcast, probably Rogan, and then from there he wrote a book called How to Change Your Mind, which I listened to. And then when I went through a period of like pretty dark depression, my therapist recommended a clinical ketamine course. And like when my partner and we took a little break. She's like, "You got to figure this out." And when we got back together, she's like, I don't recognize you, dude. You're happy all the time. I'm like, I don't get it either.
Annoyingly so.
Exactly. Annoying.
She did.
He
she's
gets
like, I don't
mad
know
at
how
me
to
though,
deal with
so
it.
it's
because
okay.
like she just went through her first like bodybuilding competition, and like the last week is like a stressor, and she's freaking out the whole fucking time. And I just like Ted Lasso'd everything she said. She said, "Can you just not do that?" I'm like, I could just not talk. I'll go out in the backyard and listen to music, but I don't know, man. It just seems easier to do that.
Yeah.
And I really do credit. Well, I mean, jiu-jitsu played a big role in it. Not drinking played a massive role.
Yeah.
But I really do think that the ketamine, like, it just rewired me.
So to kind of end everything, what is the funniest moment that you remember
You stole my
the-
question. I was
with
gonna
the
ask him.
Pittsburgh Warriors? Funniest moment.
Oh, okay.
Because you were going military.
We'll
right?
do funny. We'll answer this and then we'll end and then we'll talk a little bit more.
I don't know. The only one that's popping in my head is watching JP step on the ice.
I would love to. I would pay to see.
Yeah, I wish I had a video from that. It was pretty good. It was pretty.
I mean, maybe there's security footage somewhere.
There might be.
There probably is somewhere if you can go back and archive.
What is it? They film all the stuff at the race. What is it called?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
Either way,
we'll find it.
That's the one that sticks out in my brain. I'm sure there's way better ones than that, but that one is definitely stuck in my brain.
Dave, it was great to have you.
Yeah, thanks,
here.
guys.
It was-
Absolutely, man.
Lo-
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love what you're doing because I'm involved in hockey too, and you guys, you're doing God's work, or whatever God you believe in. You saved one veteran. That's amazing, and I wish you and the program nothing but continued success. And thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
I mean, this is fun.
Thank you.